Happy Tuesday and welcome into Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. Hopefully everybody is having a good start to their week as we approach the quote-unquote dead time in the offseason. Although there is some pretty big news for the Miami Dolphins tomorrow. It is their official schedule release for the 2025 season. It will be interesting to see when the Dolphins play which team on prime time, at home, everything in between. We'll talk about the latest news for the Dolphins with their schedule as well as some roster moves. We'll also look at some rookies that are receiving praise from ESPN, a Q&A, and Jaylen Wright. Is he going to break out? Appreciate everybody spending some time on a Tuesday afternoon to come hang out with yours truly here on the channel. And as always, start off the stream by shouting out your city. Where are the real ones watching from? We got some real ones in the chat. Sherry May, how are you doing, Sherry? Always good to see Sherry May in the live chat. Glad she could return. My guy Tyson's in Miami. Andrew saying fins up. MDW is in the building. What's up, Magic? In Fort Wayne, Indiana, as he always is. Hot Dog says, why did the Mavs win the lottery? Because it's rigged. What do you want me to say? Terrence is in Ocala. Vero Beach for Andrew. I had a baseball tournament in Vero Beach when I was in high school. Took a little trip. Did we go 2-1 that weekend? 3-1? I don't remember. I didn't play much because it was my sophomore year of high school, and I was kind of a reserve on the varsity team at that time. Daniel's in Toledo, Ohio. Daryl's in Crestview. Hot Dog says baseball is dangerous. Dangerous? What do you mean dangerous? Come on, it ain't dangerous. I guess if you're getting drilled by pitches, sure. But listen, if you're playing baseball, you got to have that hand-eye coordination, the reaction time. It ain't dangerous. It's only dangerous if you let it be dangerous. Thunder Enigma is in Greensboro, North Carolina. We got another person watching from Ocala. We got Terrence and Tom. You guys should hang out. Why not? Why not? Sherry May says Andrew just down the street from me. So that means Sherry May's near Vero Beach, Florida. We got Jay Griffin in Niagara Falls, up in my neck of the woods where I'm from. Robert's from Lakeland, Florida. Listen, a lot of the Southeast is where people are hanging out from, but we got some Northeasterners. Sneaky a lot of New York Dolphins fans. It's sneaky. It's sneaky. Patrick is in Jamaica. That's sick. We got YRS in DeLand, Florida. Hot Dog says, I want to visit the Dolphins facility. Well, why not go? What's stopping you, Hot Dog? What's stopping you? What's up, Thunder? Timothy's in Macomb. All right, the Dolphins schedule is getting announced tomorrow. We'll see who the Dolphins play week 1 and beyond. We have one game already announced. That would be the Madrid-Spain game in week 11 as the Dolphins will be playing the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. That will be a lot of fun. November 16th, 9:30 Eastern time. We'll be up early here on the channel, NFL Network. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hot Dog wants to play the Bills on primetime. I do not. Why would you want to embarrass yourself again? I'll play anybody else on primetime. Done with the Bills on primetime. Don't want to deal with that. Don't want to deal with that, man. I am good on that. I hate the Bills, too. They're my most hated team in the NFL. I don't want to play them on primetime. We never beat them. Why would I want to lose on primetime? Primetime's supposed to be fun. If we play the Bills on primetime, that's not fun. That's not fun. All right. I've looked through the schedule, by the way, and who the Dolphins are playing, opponents, home, away games. I don't know if you guys are going to be upset with me this. I think the Dolphins go 9-8. Now, that could change based off bye week placement, when and where, like in terms of are they playing the Steelers on the road in December when it's freezing cold, or are they playing them on the road in September when it's still warm out? Like, that does matter for the Miami Dolphins as they are a warm weather team. But based off just looking at away games, home games, I'm predicting 9-8. I'm predicting 9-8. What are your record predictions? Are you guys waiting till the schedule release is official? That's my thing. It's like I think it's 9-8, but I want to know y'all. Tyson's trying to go to the Falcons game and Saints game. Hot Dogs is 17-0. I mean, listen, I wish I had that optimism. I do. 10-7 from Derek. Tyson's waiting till schedule releases. I think the Dolphins could go anywhere between 10-7 and 6-11. Depends on injuries. Depends on how things go. And I think that's right. Like, I actually do think the ceiling is 10 wins, though. Like, and that's not great. If the ceiling is 10 wins and sneaking into the playoffs as a wild card team, it's probably not the best thing in the world, but it is what it is. You guys are more optimistic than I am. I see a lot of 10-7s, 11-6. The fams in the building. What's up, my guys? River Craycraft got released. Wonder if the Finns bring him in. I got to be honest. I'm kind of over the River Craycraft experience. Like, not to say he's not a good teammate and he hasn't been productive over his years in Miami, but how many times are we going to employ the same wide receivers that really can't make a difference? Like, that's why you brought in Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Like, River Craycraft, the reason why you held him on the roster for as long as you did is to be that physical, like, big-bodied wide receiver, right? Like, he's 6'2". He was the tallest guy on your team in that position room. But now you brought in Westbrook-Ikhine, who's 6'2", 6'3", 211. Like, you got size there. You brought UDFAs in that are big in size. Theo Weiss Jr., Andrew Armstrong. Like, I'm probably not in on bringing Craycraft back. I'd like to see what the Dolphins have with their UDFA class. You have your top four of Tyreek, Jaylen, Malik Washington, and Westbrook-Ikhine, and I'll just probably round out that Dolphins wide receiver room with one or two of the UDFAs, if I'm going to be honest. Wow, you guys are very confident, man. Derek is saying if we go 6-11, McDaniels gets fired, Anthony Weaver is head coach. Would not be surprised by that whatsoever. And I'm not going to say I'm rooting for that, but it would not make me upset. I mean, I just don't know if McDaniels' future in Miami is pointing to the direction of a Super Bowl. That's just me, though. All right, one of the players that people fell in love with last year in the offseason, in the preseason, was rookie running back Jaylen Wright. Well, on one of our segments today, we are going to talk about Jaylen Wright on if he could be a breakout candidate for Miami this upcoming year. I want to ask y'all, will the second-year running back Jaylen Wright break out in 2025 for the Finns? Y for yes, N for no. Philip saying yes. I think it's very possible. Bleacher Report said it. Remember, the Dolphins traded a third-round pick in this year's draft a year ago for Jaylen Wright. So they clearly liked his skill set. He got some PT late in the year and now projects to be the RB2 for Miami. I'm excited. A lot of yeses. YRS, Sherry May, Derek, Tyson. Is Jeff Wilson on the team still? No, he is not. Magic Dragon Wizard, my guy's saying I think so, yes. Patrick's saying, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm very opportunistic, optimistic. That's probably the word I was going for there about Jaylen Wright in year two. Listen, he needs to improve on his running in terms of, maybe you could blame this on the offensive line last year, but we'll look at it. The numbers of him running in between the tackles were not good last year at any stretch. So we'll see if he's able to improve running up the middle this year rather than just relying on his speed on the perimeter. But, man, we'll see. I'm excited, though. Especially with the added offensive linemen, James Daniels, Jonah Savaiinaea. It's going to be a lot of fun to see these guys run behind the new offensive line. Him, Achane, Ollie Gordon, Alexander Madison. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, I do want to throw this out there. Not anything crazy, but listen, I'll say this. If we get $50 in Super Chats today, I'll do a beer bong on this show. No big deal if we hit it, but if we do, why not take down a beer? It's a Tuesday afternoon, just hanging out with the Dolphins fans. If we get $50 in Super Chats today, I'll do a beer bong on the show. No pressure. We are going to do a mailbag later, so remember, if you do Super Chat, it guarantees you a spot on the mailbag. If not, it's left up to chance. So, listen, just throw it out there. Super Chat gets you on the mailbag, gets us closer to our goal. We'll see if anything ultimately happens. But we do got 4 segments to get to on today's show. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you want the live show to get started with our actual shows that we're doing, hit that thumbs up icon. We got 72 people in the building. You know what? Let's get to 37 likes. Why not? That's 8 likes away. If we get to 37 likes, we'll start today's show. We need 8 more. Who's going to be the 8 people to get today's show started? It is a good one. The 4 things that we're doing on today's show. We got to talk about some Dolphins news. Miami made a roster move, actually multiple roster moves, as well as a schedule announcement for the Fins. Full schedule coming out to tomorrow. ESPN hyped up a pair of Dolphins rookies. We'll talk about the 2 rookies that ESPN said could be instant impact players. We'll talk about Jaylen Wright. Is he going to have a breakout season in year 2 for the Miami Dolphins? And then we'll round out the live show with a Dolphins Q&A as advertised. Need to use hashtag Dolphins or Super Chat to get on the Q&A. You start getting in your questions now. Remember, the hashtag Dolphins has to be one word, and it has to be in your question for our software to be able to pull it. That will be the end of our show. God, my guy Jonathan Soto's in the building from Melbourne, Florida. What's up, Soto? We got to 38 likes. What does that mean? Well, that means we're going to get into today's show. As I showed there, first segment of the day is going to be major Dolphins news. So, we got producer Reed with us today, which is very helpful. Producer Reed was with us for the Monday Night Football game against the Rams. We won that game. Is that the only game you did with us?
I think I did another one, and
we don't talk about that other one, though.
That other one did not go well, but the first one was very fun.
Yeah, first one was fun. We dominated the Rams on the road on primetime. It was good. So we had Lopez last week, Reed this week. No more Justin, unfortunately. No more Justin. Poor guy. Poor guy decided to leave us. It is what it is. Shout out to him. All right. Let's get into the first show of the live stream, which is breaking down some major Miami Dolphins news. So let's get one more sip here, and then we'll get going. Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. Diet Dr. Pepper's the best. Whenever you're ready, Reed, I'm ready to go. We got a lot of Miami Dolphins news to discuss on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today. The official Miami Dolphins schedule will be announced on Wednesday afternoon of this week, but we already have one schedule announcement we'll talk about. Miami, they actually signed a cornerback to their offseason 90-man roster, and in a corresponding move, they released a player as well, a UDFA. We'll talk about those roster decisions at the end of today's show, but the schedule announcement that we are discussing is the Madrid game. The first ever game being played in Spain will feature the Miami Dolphins. Pretty cool if you ask me. And they are going to be playing Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. This game will be played at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on November 16th in NFL Week 11. It is going to be very fascinating to have that. And it's technically a Dolphins home game. So the Dolphins do, unfortunately, kind of get screwed there, as they will only be playing 8 home games, 1 neutral site, 8 away games, rather than 9 home games, 8 away games. But, hey, it's going to be really cool being the first ever team, I guess, to play in Spain. And I want to make sure the people are subscribed to the channel, because we will have the full 18-week schedule, 17 games, the 1 bye week, revealed on the show tomorrow in the afternoon. So hit that sub button, rolling close to 70,000 strong here at Dolphins Today. Join the family right now. Now, this does have some impact other than just the announcement of playing the Commanders in Spain, right? Because when you've looked over the past 5-6 years as the NFL has continuously rolled out these games not played in the United States, most of the time, not all, but I would say there's a more than likely chance not, that the teams that play overseas get a bye week that following week, because added travel, the jet lag, they just want to make it more fair, because if that team that travels overseas has to play a team rested in the United States, well, that could create an unfair advantage. So with that game being played in Week 11, there is a high chance, I won't say it's guaranteed, but a good one, that the Dolphins will be having a Week 12 bye. Now, something also to note with that is that that is the week before Thanksgiving. Every team plays that week, by the way. So Week 13, there are no byes. Everybody plays. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I just did want to note, as we are one day away from the schedule release, that Miami will likely, I'm not saying guaranteed, have a bye in Week 12 following their game against the Commanders in Spain. Now, I also did want to share this because why not? This is a lot of fun. After the announcement, as Dolphins beat reporters always do, this game's being played in November. So that's when it starts to get chilly, and it's a big talking point for us here at the channel as we don't want to be playing cold weather teams on the road in November and December. Well, here we go. In Madrid, the average temperature for November 16th when Miami's playing is 58 degrees, so nothing cold. But I will say the average low at that time is also 41, but it is being played during the day, so it's more likely going to be in the 50s than the 40s. But you think Spain in November, and you're like, probably going to be warm. Not actually guaranteed. It could be warm, but it could also be cold. Let's move over to some Dolphins roster news now, because Miami did actually sign a cornerback. This happened on Monday afternoon. That move was Kendall Sheffield, and it's a fascinating signing because this is a veteran player that was at Miami Dolphins rookie minicamp as a tryout, a former fourth-round pick out of Ohio State who has been around the league for a while now after being drafted in 2019. But Sheffield will try to come in and compete for a roster spot during OTAs, during the preseason, during training camp. Sheffield joining the Dolphins, though, primarily a nickel guy. And the interesting thing here is they have not signed a legit corner as of now in terms of actually impacting the team. Like, I don't want to get it twisted. Sheffield is not going to be someone that is seriously helping the Miami Dolphins. Getting to know him more, as I mentioned, former fourth-round pick out of Ohio State, 28 years old. He has appeared in a lot of games throughout his career. I mean, he played for the Falcons, the 49ers, the Titans, the Jets. Now, he has not played in a game, or excuse me, I should say started a game since 2020. And he has only played 167 snaps on defense over the past 3 years. Those snaps, by the way, all coming last season for the New York Jets. So he is not a player that I am going to anticipate getting a lot of run for this Miami Dolphins defense. Miami just must have liked what they saw from him to some degree during rookie minicamp tryouts, going through drills, leadership experience, to at least give him a shot to make the team. But maybe he could be a practice squad stash player as well. I want you to be honest with me. Did you know who Kendall Sheffield was before the Dolphins signed him? Hand up accountability? I did not. I did not do that. So let me know your thoughts. Type Y for yes, type N for no. I had to do my research on him. We're going to continue to look at what he will bring potentially to the table here, but let me know your thoughts. We know the Dolphins' cornerback room is not the best, right? Like, especially with Jalen Ramsey trade rumors still hanging over this roster. As we've continuously mentioned, a trade is more likely than not going to happen, but it is likely going to happen after June 1st, so the Dolphins don't have a massive dead cap hit for this upcoming season. Cam Smith is your CB2 right now. Kader Kohou is probably your best nickel. If you just take out Jalen Ramsey, Kader Kohou is your best corner, and he's a nickel guy. So you need to add people via free agency or maybe via trade. And Kendall Sheffield, sorry if you're watching, isn't going to cut it. Like, you still need to go out and grab a guy. And Rasul Douglas, by the way, is visiting the Seattle Seahawks on Tuesday. He apparently visited Miami late last week. It was not reported until today by Barry Jackson that he actually was in the Dolphins headquarters for a meeting. And the Dolphins offered Rasul Douglas a contract, but allegedly, according to Barry, it was not to the liking of Douglas, and he remains unsigned. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Kendall Sheffield for now. Not the best cover corner. And like I mentioned, I'm not going to try to act like he's going to be an impactful player, man. He's been targeted a lot in his 909 snaps in coverage. It's not great when you're giving up nearly a 70% completion percentage and a QB rating of 105.9 when being targeted. It's not great, Jim. And he's given up 12.5 yards on a catch basis. Like, I don't know what to make of the signing. I'm not going to try to act like it's a big one. If you didn't hear earlier, remember he was a tryout at rookie minicamp over this past weekend. The Dolphins brought in a couple of UDFA corners, man. B.J. Adams from Central Florida. Brought in Ethan Robinson from Minnesota. They obviously drafted Jason Marshall Jr. in the 5th round. Just continuing to add to that cornerback room. He is someone who has played a lot of different spots in the NFL, like throughout his career. He's played 792 snaps as an outside corner, 462 in the slot. Played about 100, 200 snaps in the box as well. So maybe has some versatility in terms of his ability to move around on the back end. But I don't want to try to act like anything here. He's most likely going to be cut by Dolphins roster cutdown day in late August before the season gets started in September. Could just be a camp body. Could be someone to help mentor, push some of these other rookies that are brought into the building trying out for the team. Kendall Sheffield, welcome to the Miami Dolphins, but Miami still needs to sign 2 guys for sure that are going to hopefully be solid veteran presences. We're going to look at who the Dolphins released in just a second, but make sure you get your Dolphins jerseys for the season right now. It's never too early. At chatsports.com/Dolphins jersey, you can get rookie Kenneth Grant, rookie Jonah Savaiinaea, Jalen Phillips, Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, any player you want, any size you want, any color, any style. If you want the throwback jersey, go ahead as well. And when those rookie numbers officially are finalized, Kenneth Grant said he's wearing 90, but those could change when it's actually official. They'll ship it out to you. Chatsports.com/Dolphins jersey. All right, this happened a couple days before the signing of Kendall Sheffield, but it is kind of a corresponding move, if you will. But the Dolphins released UDFA long snapper Kneeland Hibbett. And it's crazy how much we have talked about long snappers over the last, 96 hours? Like, we talked about the releasing of Blake Ferguson late last week. We talked about the Dolphins signing Joe Cardona on Friday, and now we're talking about the Dolphins releasing Kneeland Hibbett. It's just wild how much we're discussing long snappers, man. And when it comes to this move, it's clear that Joe Cardona is your long snapper. So there is some importance of discussing this right now because we thought it was going to be a battle between Blake Ferguson and Hibbett for the long snapping duty. And then Ferguson gets cut. It's like, all right, now it's going to be the UDFA from Alabama, Kneeland Hibbett. Well, then they signed Cardona. It's like, well, I guess it's going to be a competition between the longtime New England Patriot and the UDFA. Well, no, they got rid of the UDFA, which means it is going to be Joe Cardona as your long snapper. And in case you missed our video we did on Joe on Friday, 5th-round pick out of Navy in the 2015 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots, was named as an All-Dynasty member, was a Salute to Service Award winner in 2023, and was a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. Has appeared in a lot of games, 20 tackles, over 157 games played, has a career PFF grade on special teams of 52.6. I do think it's an upgrade over Blake Ferguson. And an underrated part of this, and I know it's just a long snapper, but what is one thing we consistently talked about with the Miami Dolphins? They needed an upgrade in leadership. They needed an upgrade in locker room building and presence. Well, Joe Cardona knows what it takes to win at the highest level, being with the Patriots in the prime Tom Brady days of 2015, 16, 17, 18, in that second dynasty. I think he could help not just take over and kind of be the lead dog, if you will. That still needs to be to Mike McDaniel and some of these other top players, but he can help chime in and help lead this special teams unit that is basically brand new. New coach Craig Aukerman, new punter Ryan Stonehouse, still have Jason Sanders there, but you almost have a new entire room there in the special teams department. So hopefully a unit that was in the bottom 5 in the last 3 seasons gets a major upgrade with all those overhauls. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us here on Dolphins Today. Help us get to 70K subscribers. And as I mentioned, we will also have a full Dolphins schedule breakdown, analysis, and release tomorrow. So hit that sub button and stay locked in. All right. One segment down. Looks like we got a couple super chats. Look at that. It's going to be fun. But let me know, do you think the Dolphins need to sign a corner? Man, it's a clean yes. I think it's a clean yes. I think that is an absolute necessity, no doubt about that. While you guys answer that question, let's get the super chats. My guy, MDW! What's up, Magic Dragon Wizard? How are you doing, my friend? from Fort Wayne says, let's go, you look thirsty. Well, we got $20 in super chats. Remember, I said if we get to 50 on today's live show, I'll do a beer bong. So we're 30 away because Jonathan Soto with a $10 super chat. My best friend, Commanders fan, and I had plans to go to that game until we found out it's going to be in Madrid in the same weekend as Orlando's Warped Tour weekend. Double whammy. Well, I'm sorry, Soto. What is the Orlando Warped Tour? Let's do some looking up. Orlando. Celebrating 30 years of music. Oh, it's a Vans Wrapped Orlando. I think it's just a musical type of, yeah, I think it's a festival. It's a musical festival. Excuse me. I'm looking at some names here. 3OH exclamation O, or 3. I actually know that. I know a song from them. I don't know any of these other guys. Oh, I know Gym Class Heroes. Does that say MGK? No way Machine Gun Kelly's going, right? Young Gravy's going to be there. Let's see if any of these other ones I could know. I don't freaking know, man. I know who they are. I don't know how to pronounce them. I know one song from them. What's that famous song? Okay, MGK is going to be there. Let me see if I know any of these other guys. I don't know if I know any of these other, man. I know, like I said, I know Gym Class Heroes. That they got one song I know. Can't say I know any other ones though. 303. That's all I know. Young Gravy is a wild person to be with these other people, I feel like. All right, Soto, I respect it. So I saw someone ask in the chat if we are doing a mailbag for #Dolphins. Yes, that is going to be the last thing we do on today's show. So if you want to be on our Q&A to end the show, use #Dolphins or Super Chat. Now, those two Super Chats that came in aren't really questions, so we can't really use them, unfortunately, for our mailbag. But if you did want a Super Chat with a question about the Dolphins, we'll get that on show. And I will say this, folks. This is a video that will go out later in the week, so do not ask anything about the schedule that's going out on Wednesday. So that is the one to ask. If you're going to ask a question, do not ask about the schedule. Ask about players, free agents, trades, anything else but the schedule. Anything else. Quite literally anything else. I'd like to get some questions already loaded up there as we get closer and closer. See, BR, that's a good question. BR, you've asked 2 questions. You just got to use #Dolphins in the questions. Oh, it's the Sherry May question of, do we still use it? Sherry's saying #Dolphins, but you got to remember, I don't know if you're going to ask the question. You got to put the question in the comment. I know, it's complicated. I'm sorry, but it's the only way our software can get the comment on screen. So now that the Dolphins just made a roster move. Interesting. The Dolphins just claimed defensive tackle Matthew Butler. What we can do is we could film a cold open that we could just attach to the news segment. Yeah, the first one, because that video is going out after. Yeah. That name sounds familiar, Matthew Butler. Let's see here. Let's see his career. Played for the Raiders over the last 3 seasons. Nothing serious. There we go. Good question from Jonathan Soto, from BR. Oh, okay, Sherry. I thought so too. I just wanted to make sure. Matthew Butler. He's a Raider. So what we're going to do is that we're going to briefly mention that, and then for the video that we're putting out later. So we're just going to do that. The Dolphins waived Trayvon Ribka, the defensive tackle from Kentucky that was a UDFA signing. So the Dolphins swap out a D lineman for a D lineman. Matthew Butler to the roster. Trayvon Ribka gets released. Dolphins have currently the maximum 91 players on their offseason roster. They have an international pathway guy, Bayron Martos. No need. Yeah, no need. Some random D lineman. Some random. Interesting. Dolphins have made some sneaky moves lately, man. All right, yeah, let's do this here. Let's film this, and then we'll move over to our next segment. All right, some quick Dolphins news. This happened as we were filming the video you're about to watch. But the Dolphins signed Matthew Butler. They awarded him off of waivers, and they released UDFA defensive lineman Trayvon Ribka, the defensive lineman from Kentucky. But Butler, the newest Dolphin, has played 3 seasons for the Las Vegas Raiders, has really not been someone that got a lot of playing time. 15 games played in 3 years for the Vegas. Will likely just be a camp body, but the Dolphins swap out a UDFA for a veteran in Matthew Butler. All right. So that will be that. And then, yeah. Appreciate you. All right. Easy money. Let's get into our next segment here. I tell you that, Tuesday is a pretty big day in terms of news, but I feel like we always get hit with news. During the season, it felt like we were getting hit with news on the Dolphins and the roster and stuff like that every Tuesday. Right as we were going live, it was like daggers to our heart, man. Daggers to our heart. All right. Let's get into some rookie hype courtesy of ESPN. ESPN hyped up a pair of Miami Dolphins draft picks from the 2025 NFL Draft, that being Jonah Savaiinaea, the offensive lineman from Arizona that Miami took with the 37th overall pick, second-round selection. But they also hyped up Jordan Phillips, the defensive lineman from Maryland, who was ultimately selected in the 5th round, 143rd overall. I'm Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports, and we're going to talk first about what was said about Jonah Savaiinaea, because ESPN Field Yates ranked him as the 3rd best impact player, or in terms of their projection, not selected in the 1st round. So they went 10 players on offense, 10 players on defense, who can have the largest impact on their teams that weren't 1st rounders, and Savaiinaea was the 3rd on the offensive end. And before we talk about what Yates had to say and Savaiinaea as a prospect, I want to grow Dolphins Today and get more people in our family. And the best way to do that is by sharing today's video, because some people might not see our content, but if you share it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and more people see our content, join us and subscribe, it's just going to create a bigger and larger and more fun family. So help us out and share today's video. All right, let's see what Field Yates had to say about Savaiinaea. He said it was clear that Miami valued Savaiinaea during the draft, making an aggressive push up the board to get him. He gives the Dolphins a legitimate starting guard candidate right out of the gate. They had a desperate need to upgrade the position. Savaiinaea showed excellent positional versatility in college, but he should slide inside as a starting guard in Miami's zone-heavy scheme. He allowed only 2 sacks over 3 seasons at Arizona. And Jonah from Zona did play offensive tackle for the most part for the Wildcats last season and 3 years ago. Played right guard in 2023. I do think he is going to be a guard. A lot of people projected him to move from outside to inside, not only because of the need for Dolphins at guard, but just overall in his skill set at the next level due to his foot speed, his good core strength, and inside power. And it just seemed like most people believed he would be better fit at guard. And with the Dolphins needing a starting guard, I think he slides into that right guard role. You pair a rookie in between Aaron Brewer and Austin Jackson, 2 solid veterans. That makes a lot of sense. And you put a veteran in James Daniels, who you signed to a 3-year deal in the offseason, next to a first-year full-time starter in Patrick Paul. That's likely your starting 5 combination up front if you do not have any injuries in the offseason. And it's clear that Miami valued him a lot. And how could you not be excited about Savaiinaea based off what we've seen in terms of the character, the versatility, the athleticism? And if anything I say should stick out to you on today's show, it's just that whenever you see a player get traded up for in the draft, it's clear that that team really wanted him. And with Miami sitting at pick 48, they were certain that there was no way that their guy, Jonah Savaiinaea, was going to make it to that 48th overall pick. So they traded their 3rd round pick, and they swapped 4th and 5th round picks with Las Vegas to move up 11 spots and to get their guy. And in the moment, I was a little bit shocked. I was surprised because the Dolphins just had such a desperate need at cornerback. And you had players like Will Johnson, Trey Amos, Benjamin Morrison, Savone Revel on the board. So I was like, all right, they're trading up to grab a corner. But they took Jonah. And I was a little bit taken aback from that. Because, yes, offensive guard was in need. But I was just like, well, could you have sat there at 48 and taken Jonah? Or could you have just sat there and taken one of your corners that was going to be there? And Amos, Morrison, and Revel were all there at 48. Will Johnson went 47. But that is part of the process that I went into in terms of grading and talking about the pick. But it has grown on me more and more because as stories have come out and you've seen him start to participate in rookie minicamp and get in the locker room, the organization, headquarters, and see the coaching staff talk about him, it's clear that this is a player Miami valued. I think this is an interesting hypothetical to talk about. Now that we have had a almost full month pass, almost, not quite there yet, since the NFL draft, would you still have traded up to take Jonah Savaiinaea, knowing what you know now? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I think I would. I think I would be typing my Ys. It wasn't the most easiest decision to make for me to double down and say I would have traded up for him like Miami ultimately did. But I do think what I've seen, what I've read, and what people have talked about post-draft, Savaiinaea would not have been there at number 48. We actually did a video about it just days after the draft that it sounded like the New England Patriots were contemplating taking him with their pick at number 38, 39. No, 38 for sure. I always get those numbers confused. And if we're really going to be honest and play hindsight's 2020, you look back to the 3rd round in Miami's 98th overall pick, there wasn't that many good options on the board in terms of offensive linemen or cornerback. So I'm fine moving up to get a guy that you valued a lot. And something we talk about at the channel a lot. It's versatility. Not for offensive linemen, not only for secondary, but I always say it when we talk about versatility on the channel. I preach it in life. And he has been able to showcase the ability to play multiple different spots on the offensive line. Played right tackle the most, specifically last season. He split time between left tackle, where he played 345 snaps, and right tackle, around 400 snaps there. Played right tackle his first year as a starter in 2022, and then 2023 is when he played right guard full-time as a starter. So he can play tackle, he can play guard. Probably not center, but 4 out of the 5 spots. Chris Grier loves versatility on the offensive line. For better or for worse, Liam Eichenberg, versatile. Austin Jackson, Aaron Brewer. Like, these guys can move around. Isaiah Wynn, who he signed. Like, he likes the versatility. And Savaiinaea had such a good collegiate career that it's hard not to get giddy when you pair his athleticism, his versatility, and his production to add him to the Dolphins depth chart, add him to the roster. It's like, all right, we got a guy here. Let's do it. Let's solidify this offensive line, protect Tua, and also be a better running team like we were in 2023 when the Dolphins had the number one rushing attack in all of football in a top 5 offense in the NFL. I think the decline in offensive production last season could be heavily attributed to, obviously, injuries to Tua Tagovailoa because he played 11 games rather than 17 in 2023, but the inability to run the ball when you needed to, up the middle, in between the tackles. That was missing last season. Hopefully, with James Daniels and Savaiinaea joining this offensive line, you will no longer have those issues. And we saw, based off his production, his tape, his PFF grades, that he is a good fit for this Dolphins group. You see his run blocking grades in zone schemes. They're significantly better than in gap schemes. Well, no one implores more of a run blocking zone scheme than Mike McDaniel. So many wide zone concepts, so many end arounds. It's getting to the perimeter, it's speed. But Savaiinaea also has the possibility and potential to be someone that bullies you up the middle with his solid base and solid strength. Like, I am just so excited to watch this offensive line work. It could end up being bad. It could. But on paper, I think it's better than last year's because you don't have Robert Jones. You don't have Liam Eichenberg. And yeah, you're losing Teron Armstead, but you have an upgraded spot at left guard, an upgraded spot at right guard, a second-year Aaron Brewer at center, Austin Jackson back from injury because he only played half the year last season, and a second-round pick from 2024, Patrick Paul, getting his first chance. Savaiinaea, he's going to be a week 1 starter, unless an injury occurs. Like, I think he would have to be the worst offensive lineman to ever grace the planet to not be able to beat out Liam Eichenberg for that right guard spot. Larry Borum's going to be your swing tackle. I think Liam Eichenberg is going to be your interior lineman, depth piece behind Daniels, behind Savaiinaea. Maybe the Dolphins sign another offensive lineman for depth as well. But I think Jonah is going to be your starting right guard or starting left guard. But my preference is right guard because you have him in between 2 veterans that know what they're doing. And hopefully that right side of the offensive line, which is Tua's blind side, added incentive to have a good right side of the line more than the left side, could be huge for the Fins this year. And this is why you subscribe to the channel, by the way, because we put out content every single day that is 100% free. Join the channel. Videos are going out twice a day at times as well. So join us here at Dolphins Today. All right, let's move over to Jordan Phillips now, the defensive lineman from Maryland that was taken in the 5th round. He was not in the top 10. I mentioned it. Field Yates had 10 players not in the first round offensively and defensively that can make an impact on their teams. But he also had about 3 or 4 honorable mentions. Well, Field Yates labeled Jordan Phillips as an honorable mention. The defensive lineman from Maryland has a lot of strength. He's one of the youngest players in the draft class at 20 years of age right now, and it's going to be exciting to see him added to this group. Well, Field Yates, talking about Phillips, said that he was a wrestler and weightlifter in high school, and that shows up on his tape. He's one of the most physical run defenders in the rookie class and plays with excellent leverage. Miami landed Kenneth Grant with its first-round pick, but Phillips will also help the Dolphins become much more physical and tougher on the defensive front. And I know a lot of people are critical of Chris Grier. Me too. I want him fired. I wanted him fired before the offseason, and I wanted, to be honest, him and McDaniel both gone. Maybe that was overreactionary, different conversation for a different day. But we as fans and content creators, analysts of this team, have consistently said before the draft, before free agency, that the trenches needed to be the biggest improvement. And I know a lot of concerns about the secondary. They are warranted. But Chris Grier's commitment to build the trenches this offseason was smart, and it will help a lot. You see James Daniels side in free agency. Yeah, they didn't do anything on the defensive line, but then they go to the draft and draft Kenneth Grant in round 1. Jonah Savaiinaea, round 2. and then you go Jordan Phillips in round 5, Zeke Biggers in round 7. Like, you added 3 physical defensive linemen. You added your final offensive lineman that should be starting. Like, you have to give Grier credit for finally addressing the trenches. And Phillips might have been a steal of the draft, by the way, because when you look at his advanced metrics, not production in terms of sacks, TFLs, and those kind of stats, but when you look at his pass rush win rate and his run stop rate, how effective is he stopping the run when it's run at him, and how effective is he getting after the quarterback and winning against the offensive lineman he's lined up against in rushing the quarterback situations? Well, in 2024, he was the 18th best interior defensive lineman in terms of beating his offensive lineman with a pass rush move. 18th out of 175 qualified D linemen. And then in the run stop game, he had a 7.6% run stop rate, which tells you how often he was able to stop a run play and make it a negative play for the opposing offense. That ranked 34th out of 194 interior defensive linemen. So you're getting a player that in the advanced metrics was terrific in terms of getting after the quarterback and stopping the run. You're also getting a defensive lineman that was one of the most young players in this draft class at age 20 years old. He can't have a freaking beer right now, folks. He's turning 21 in a couple months. But the youthfulness of Phillips is so fascinating to me. And you look at the entire draft class Miami had. Kenneth Grant's only 21. Savaiinaea is only 21. Like, you have a lot of young players that you drafted. It was the youngest draft class in the entire NFL by a wide margin, and it was the youngest draft class as an organization in the last 5 years by 8 months on average. They went young, they went trenches, and it will be very helpful to the Fins. And Jordan Phillips has a role on this team, by the way. We'll talk about that role. But before we do, let me know your thoughts. Will Jordan Phillips be a starter for the Fins? Type S for starter, type R for reserve. I might type my R's for reserve right now. I'll tell you why here in a second. But if he was the starter by the end of the year, would not shock me one bit. All right, so let's look at the defensive line depth chart, because you have Zach Sealer as your lead D lineman, a hybrid run stopper, get after the quarterback, just one of the simply most underrated players in the entire NFL, and I would argue he's the best player on the Dolphins roster, not just defense, last season. You drafted Kenneth Grant to be that change of pace guy. He can play alongside Sealer, he can play one tech, he can play three tech, just eats up space, can get after the quarterback, can stop the run, high motor, high culture guy. But we're focusing on Jordan Phillips right now. Benito Jones was kind of your rotational one tech last year with Deshaun Hand, Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer. I think Jordan Phillips' role year one will be a mix-in guy with Benito Jones. I think Jones will get first crack, but Phillips will work in with him. And you just have a rotation here at defensive line for Sealer, Grant, Benito, Phillips. I think Zeke Biggers, as a big defensive lineman from Georgia Tech, has an option and a potential possibility to be a player right away for Miami. Like, going into the draft, the defensive line was the biggest question, even more than secondary. Coming out of the draft, I'm very bullish, very optimistic about this young defensive line room. All right, final word on today's show. Not often do you see the Dolphins get praise from the national media, but for the most part, people have been very complimentary of the picks for Miami. Some have been negative. Mel Kiper didn't like the Dolphins' pick of Kenneth Grant in the first round, but F Mel Kiper, couldn't give two shits what he says, if I'm going to be honest. But you've seen people talk about Quinn Ewers being an excellent pick for Miami in the 7th round. People have talked and raved about Jordan Phillips. There's even been some positive buzz about Dante Trader Jr., the 5th-round safety from Maryland. And I actually don't know one person who has spoken negatively about the Jonah Savaiinaea pick in the 2nd round. Like, every draft analyst has praised Miami for making that selection, getting their guy to finally address the trenches and solidifying that starting group. So the Dolphins have gotten praise from media and analysts for their draft class. It's kind of refreshing to see, and hopefully it's not phony and the Dolphins draft class ultimately ends up being good. That'll do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody for joining us here. Make sure you are subscribed for more Dolphins daily coverage, and we will have a video out later today breaking down the full Miami Dolphins schedule as well. So hit that sub button and stay on the lookout for that. All right. 140 people in the building. How is everybody doing today? Appreciate everybody tuning in. 2 segments down, 2 to go. Let me know. Will Jordan Phillips be a starter? Yes or not? Yes or no? SRR. Yeah, SRR. Let me just check the Bird app, see if anything. It will always be Twitter to me. I don't care. Who is this brother? Anyone know who Jonathan Zaslow is? Dan Lebitard. On that Dan Lebitard show, Zaslow said that Anthony Davis and Giannis are interested in Miami. Oh, man, that's funny. I'll read that message later. All right, we got 2 more segments to go. We'll be talking about Jaylen Wright, the running back from Tennessee, second-year man. Is he going to have a breakout season for Miami? And we're doing a Q&A. Reed, how many questions do we have? 6 questions. So we need some more questions. Remember, hashtag Dolphins or Super Chat to get on the show today. And remember, all questions, please refrain from asking about the schedule because we are putting out that mailbag as a video over the weekend. And obviously the schedule will be announced, so there's no point of asking about the schedule. So, yeah, every noodle, we briefly talked about Matthew Butler, the defensive lineman that the Dolphins claimed. Briefly. As brief as it probably could get. As I mentioned, get those questions in. Hashtag Dolphins or Super Chat. We'll probably get a little driver for that, but we're at a good spot right now. You know what, Reed? As we are approaching the top of the hour, let's get into the next segment on the show, which is a Jaylen Wright show. Is the second-year player out of Tennessee going to have a breakout season? Let's talk about it. Is Jaylen Wright going to have a breakout season for the Miami Dolphins? The second-year running back from Tennessee, who was drafted in the 4th round of the 2024 NFL Draft, did not get a lot of playing time in his rookie season, but he got enough to make fans excited about his future, and Bleacher Report believes Jaylen Wright could be in for a breakout role on this Dolphins roster in 2025. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports, and I'm completely agree. Not often that I do agree with Bleacher Report. They throw out some pretty heinous stuff at times. But Jaylen Wright was a player that I got really excited watching last year for the Fins in the preseason. And when he got a chance to show what he could do against the Patriots in Week 5 when he had 80 yards, him and Mostert dominated that game on the ground. I just wanted more of Jaylen Wright. And this year, we will be getting that. Bleacher Report on the second-year running back. While the former Volunteer struggled to showcase his blazing speed and athleticism, a lack of cohesiveness and skill in the offensive trenches, the Dolphins rated a lowly number 27 in the end-of-the-season O-line rankings, and a crowded backfield led by De'Von Achane and Raheem Mostert didn't allow Wright much opportunity to find his footing. With Mostert's offseason departure and an offensive line overhaul that includes the addition of second-round pick Jonah Savaiinaea, the door is now open for Wright to break through as a sophomore. I could not be more excited to watch Jaylen Wright. The Dolphins, I wouldn't say they heard the fans' concerns and cries because they don't pay attention to that stuff. They don't. But the coaching staff in the front office knew if they wanted to become a legitimate, competitive, and contending team in the AFC, they were going to have to upgrade their trenches, both on the defensive side, but the offensive side. Have a more well-balanced attack in running the ball up the middle, as well as on the outside, and kind of parlaying that into a good passing attack in a play-action game. I think Jaylen Wright's going to be a massive part of that, and we're going to talk more about his role for the season here in a second. But make sure you follow us over on Instagram. At Dolphins Today IG is our handle. We are 22 followers away from 900. When we get to 1,000, we will be doing a special thank you video for getting to 1,000 followers. So help us out. Follow us on IG. We post short-form content in between our YouTube channel shows over there. So if you want more on the Dolphins, go give us a follow. Dolphins Today IG. Let's take a look back at what Jaylen Wright did last season for the Fins, and unfortunately, it really wasn't that much. He only got 68 carries last season in a very limited role. Not the most efficient either. 249 yards, 3.7 average, never found pay dirt. But as Bleacher Report noted, it was behind the bottom 5, bottom 10 offensive line that Miami had last season. And Wright, as a rookie, was buried behind, I would argue, 3 running backs. Behind Achane, Raheem Mostert, and Jeff Wilson. Now this year, Wright, with the veterans Wilson and Mostert off of the roster, gets bumped up to RB2 alongside De'Von Achane. Now Miami drafted Ali Gore in the 6th round and signed Alexander Madison in free agency to be those short yardage physical running backs. Madison 5'11", 220, Gordon 6'2", 225. So I do anticipate those 2 backs being the guys that get the goal line short yardage roles, but Wright will have a bigger role. Like De'Von Achane, as elite as he was last season and has been through his first 2 seasons in the Dolphins uniform, like he gets used so much in the passing game. I expect Jaylen Wright to get a decent amount of carries. He got 68 last season. I would be willing to predict and stamp my projection on him getting triple-digit carries this year. Because I think Achane, who led the backfield last year with so many carries, just a overwhelming share of carries for Achane last year. I think they'll dial that back due to him being an undersized running back and don't want to just overwork him because of how elite and elusive he is. That just will give Wright more carries, Madison a little bit more, maybe some Ollie Gordon. So I think Jaylen Wright's in line for a big role this year, and I'm excited to see what the second-year back could do. So what you think? Will Jaylen Wright break out in 2025? It's today's pinned comment. So if you get hit with a YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play, and answer today's question. Will the year 2 back out of Tennessee have a large role and be a star in his role? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Well, I wanted to take a look at his statistics as well as what the Dolphins do, and I think this is a very fascinating look here. Over the 3 seasons that Mike McDaniel has been the head coach of the Dolphins and the offensive play caller, here is the share of running backs behind the starting running back and then the second running back. Well, over the last 3 seasons, the RB1, Achane in 2024 got 203 carries. And then Mostert in 2023 and 2022 got 209 and 181. But in 23 and 24, in terms of the backup, 85, 103, and 84. So with McDaniel, there was only one time where the backup running back got over 100 carries. And I just said that I think Wright will be the second one to do that. Because to me, I don't think continuing and consistently giving Achane over 200 run and carry will be good for his career. So to me, bringing down Achane's carry to about 181 carries and bumping Wright in that RB2 from, say, in the mid-80s to 105, 110 is the smart decision here. And there will be an effort to run the ball, as I have alluded to. The Dolphins addressed the trenches on the offensive line for the first time in a long time, right? He was able, in that being Grier, to add James Daniels and Francie on a 3-year, $24 million deal. Draft Jonah Savaiinaea in the 2nd round to solidify your front 5, barring injury right now. And I think they are going to try to become a more well-balanced offensive team because they've just realized if you just drop back and are one-dimensional passing the football, you just won't have as much success. So there will be more carries than ever, in my opinion, this year. And that will only benefit Jaylen Wright. And how about these advanced stats, too, I wanted to show? So PFF advanced metrics. Yards per contact on an attempt. Yards after contact, that is. Breakout in percentage, which is basically how often you broke away and created a long run. And then a PFF signature stat, which is elusiveness, which basically rates on their scale of how impactful you are in terms of adding yards and being able to make people miss. Well, if you see here, when you look at stats that are a percentage, a grade, rather than overall, because Wright only got 68 carries, and these are stats of running backs that had 68 carries or more. He ranked 16th, 18th, and 18th out of 58 running backs in these stats. So in these advanced numbers of being able to break tackles, to be able to create big plays, to get yards after contact in a very small sample size, he was able to make things happen. And I think you could talk about his shiftiness, his blazing speed he displayed at the 40-yard dash. Like, he is so fun to watch, almost like De'Von Achane. Now, he does have to improve running in between the tackles because there is no doubt about it. He is a much better runner of the football when he gets out in space, gets to the perimeter, and that's how the Dolphins tried to use him. And I think that could also go to the fact that he had a high breakaway percentage, but didn't have a high yards per carry, is because he would at times try to go for the home run. He would try to make a couple people miss and try to go for the 80-yard play rather than just take your medicine, get the 5 yards, and call it a play. But that is a thing that he will work on and be coached up from year 1 to year 2. We'll show some statistics here that are very fascinating here in a second. But hit that sub button for daily content all off season long, weekly live shows as well. Join the channel. Join Dolphins Today. We're a family. We're looking for more people to join our family, more than 69,000 strong. And I wanted to show this because I think this is fun, and I really do like to look at how people run in terms of direction. Now, I think this could be looked at in multitude of ways. How effective is someone running up the middle, or is this more of an offensive line stat? You can argue either way. But to me, it's not a coincidence that Jaylen Wright was far more effective in terms of a yard per carry basis running to the outside. Now, you might not know what these exactly mean. LT means you're running to the outside of the left tackle. So you're running outside of Teron Armstead, whether it's between the left tackle and tight end or just outside of him. And same thing for the right tackle. So when they were running outside of Armstead, outside of Jackson on the perimeter, Wright was getting down the field, averaging 7.5 yards per carry. But as you saw him get closer to the middle, running between Robert Jones and Brewer, running between Brewer and Eichenberg and Jackson, Jones and Armstead, it just got worse and worse. And it doesn't shock me, by the way, that his second best yards per carry basis was running in between Jones and Armstead, a.k.a. Armstead on that left tackle spot. But you see how he was so much more effective running to the outside, getting on the perimeter, than running in between the tackles, which is a clear thing that Miami needed to do better this upcoming season. And as I mentioned, this could be indicative of the old line. You can look at those stats and not blame Jaylen Wright and say, well, if we had a better left guard, right guard duo and didn't have two horrible old linemen in Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg, you'd be able to run the ball up the middle more. And that's something Miami struggled with immensely last season. It was something driving me up a wall. If you were with us and you were subscribed and watched our content last season, you would know every single Overreaction Monday, I would be freaking out about the fact that Miami couldn't run the ball up the middle and just refused to even try. And maybe that was because they knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. It was incredibly frustrating. But another reason why Jaylen Wright is going to be an impact player is this is something that he was scouted on really well. Coming out of Tennessee, he was labeled as an excellent pass blocker, someone able to pick up blitzing linebackers and help chip on the perimeter to give his quarterback time to throw. Well, last year in a very similar or a very low sample size, PF graded him out as an 81.6 pass blocker. And there's one thing that offensive coordinators will tell you, running back coaches will tell you, offensive coordinators will tell you. If you are a running back and you can pass block, you will get on the football field. Because when you are able to do that, it provides not only value to the passing game, but it also provides more balance. Because if you're on the field first, second, third down, and you can do a variety of things, just adds you as a weapon. The defense doesn't know if you're going to run a route, if you're going to get a carry. You're going to just sit there and help protect the quarterback. Like, it just adds more, I guess, unknown to your offense. Like De'Von Achane, as much as I love him, is he that good of a pass blocker? Like, no, he's undersized. Like, you got to have that ability to play different roles. Something we talk about on a daily basis here at the channel. Versatility. So it's very, very important. I like Jaylen Wright here. He's really good at this type of stuff, man. All right, make sure you get your jerseys. We're going to finish out the show here in a second. You can get a Kenneth Grant jersey. You can get a Jaylen Wright jersey. You get Jalen Waddle. Either way, get ready for the season this upcoming fall by going to chatsports.com/Dolphins jersey. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Get your jerseys today. Any size, any player, any style. One more time, chatsports.com/Dolphins jersey. Another reason why I think Jaylen Wright will really have a larger role on this team is because we have just seen the Dolphins use two running backs more than almost any other team since Mike McDaniel came around. Now, you could attribute that to Alec Ingold being a fullback because he does count in this formation. But I think it's more in principle. When the Dolphins run 21%, what does that mean? It means two running backs, one tight end, right? They ran that at the second highest rate last season, 29.4%. Second most. You see the league average running 21 personnel is 6.2%. So they ran that 23.2% more than the league average. They like having their two running backs on the field, whether over the past couple of years it's been Achane and Mostert, whether it's been Achane and Ingold, Mostert and Ingold, whatever combination you want. The Dolphins run two running backs a lot. And that just shows you the versatility that the Dolphins have with their running backs. Like, De'Von Achane last season was like more of a wide receiver than a running back. And like, unbelievable statistics here. Look at Achane's receiving stats. And the reason why we're showing this, and you might be asking, like, why are we talking about De'Von Achane receiving stats now on a Jaylen Wright video? Well, it just shows you that because Miami uses so many running backs and uses Achane so often in the passing game, that Wright is going to be on the field more and be able to have a larger role on this offense. Like, Achane last year was third in targets behind Jonnu Smith and Tyreek Hill, third in receptions behind Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith. He lined up in the slot 26.3%, lined up wide as a wide receiver 12.7% of the time. So you're now talking about when De'Von Achane's on the field, this is a running back lining up as a wide receiver, whether it's outside or inside, nearly 40% of the time. So that shows you that you might see Jaylen Wright on the field with Achane lined up as a wide receiver multiple times this year, right? Like, what's the point of all of this? What's the point of this video, if you will? Well, you saw the Dolphins add to the offensive line. James Daniels, 3-year, $24 million contract. Jonah Savaiinaea in the second round, 37th overall. They used two RBs basically more than anyone in the NFL. The only team that used more, you might have been able to guess it, the San Francisco 49ers with Kyle Juszczyk, the offensive scheme that Mike McDaniel derives from. I would expect Jaylen Wright to have a lot of touches in 2025. I would. Is it going to be otherworldly, like he's getting 150 touches? No, I wouldn't go that far. But I do think he's going to get triple-digit carries as the RB2 for the Fins. I would expect him to be more involved in the passing game for Miami. He wasn't that involved last year. He didn't get that much run in terms of screens, in terms of running routes. Only had I think he was actually one of the lowest used running backs. Remember those statistics we showed of if you had 68 carries or more, like Wright did have last season, he ranked second to last in terms of usage in the passing game out of those 58 running backs. Hopefully that takes a bump up because he's capable of doing it as well. Like, Jaylen Wright will have a ton of touches. I think he will get a lot of carries. And I'm just fascinated to see how the Dolphins will use a speedy but also versatile back that they have here that's got good size to him as well. So, predict it for me. Over-under, 499.5 yards for Jaylen Wright. I picked this number carefully because I think he's going to get about 100 to 110 carries this next year. That would need him to average about 4.8, 5.0 yards per carry to get to this number. Do you think he's going to go over or under? Type O for over, U for under. I'll go over. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe I'm drinking the juice. That's fine. But this offensive line is just so much better than it was last year. I expect the Dolphins to run the ball way more efficiently this season than they did last year. And I think they'll try to run the ball more. So I think Jaylen Wright will go over. I don't think Achane will be a 1,000-yard rusher. I think Achane will have about 175, 185 carries. He'll probably finish with like 800 rushing yards. But that's just because he gets so much all-purpose yards in the receiving game. Wright maybe with, let's say, 105 carries, 520 yards. I know it's hard to predict these things, but that's kind of where I'm looking here. You get those two combining for 1,400 rushing yards, another 400 or 500 to 700 in the air, and you're talking about a backfield that amasses 2,000 all-purpose yards. Sign me up for that. All right, I'll do it for today's show. As always, hit that sub button for daily Miami Dolphins content. We're almost to 70K subscribers. Help us out. Let's get there. Don't do it for me. Do it for Jaylen Wright. All right. 3 segments down, 1 to go. 3 segments down, 1 to go. Oh, Brian Aycock's in the building. What's up, Mr. Aycock? How you doing? He also sent it a super chat. And remember, our last segment we're about to do is a Q&A. Use hashtag Dolphins in the comments or super chat a question to get on the Q&A. Aycock with a 5. Get your Liam Eichenberg jersey. Sorry. Can't do it. I don't think I could ever, and I truly mean this, and this might be a little egregious, but I would never wear a Liam Eichenberg jersey. I don't think I could. I just one of the worst offensive linemen I've ever seen. I couldn't do it. I would be disgusted with myself. All right, some little housekeeping notes before we get to the mailbag. Remember, we have to get a couple more questions. Oh, we know it's a joke, Aycock. We know. Use hashtag Dolphins or super chat to get on the Q&A. What do we have? About 8 questions? 6 questions? Still 6? Any more come in? Oh, we have enough. That's all that matters. But I'll also throw this out. Remember, at the top of the show, we said if we get to $50 in super chats today, just as an added bonus, have some fun on a Tuesday, I'll do a beer bong if we get to $50 in super chats. Going into the final show, we have $25 in super chats. So we are halfway there. Oh. Anyway, we're almost there. So if we get $25 in super chats before we sign off, I'll do a beer bong just for fun. If not, no big deal. Just wanted to throw something out there for the Dolphins fans if we wanted to have some added fun on a little Tuesday afternoon. But with that being said, I think it's time to get into our final segment, a mailbag on the show. All right. Reed, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. No, that's fine. I thought we had one built. I thought I had one that was like always there, but guess not. That's fine. I'm good on that. All right, we got some good questions. Let's get into this show here. We had another Miami Dolphins mailbag on tap on this episode of Dolphins Today. I am Nic Rohloff. These take place on our Tuesday live shows, so if you want to ask a question, be subscribed, turn on the notifications, and join us on Tuesday if you can. Our first question of the day will be coming in from Jonathan Soto, my guy from Melbourne, Florida. Do you think Miami keeps the 2 wide receiver UDFAs, that being Theo Weiss Jr. and Andrew Armstrong, I assume, and trades Tyreek Hill after June 1st? I have been very much on record advocating for the Dolphins to trade Tyreek Hill. And I know some people might think it's not worth it for the simple fact that you're not getting anything that will likely help you in the year of 2025. But you would save $15 million in cap space, and you would ultimately save $36.4 million in cap space for the 2026 season. And Tyreek Hill is, without a question, this is his final year in Miami due to his contract situation. So it's like, do you want us to get ahead of it, recoup some picks in the offseason? I get that. I don't think Miami ultimately trades Tyreek Hill. Do I want to? Yes, I would absolutely want to trade Tyreek Hill. So we potentially could get a corner out of it. I've thought out this idea multiple times. What if the Chiefs were interested? You trade Tyreek Hill and a 5th-round pick, or excuse me, Tyreek Hill to the Chiefs for Jalen Watson, the corner, and a 5th-round pick. Like, I'm intrigued on that deal, right? We'll see, but I don't think anything ultimately happens. BR says, any rookie breakout predictions? I'll say this. I'll answer the question, BR. Appreciate the question. But I do think saying rookie breakouts are crazy, because to me, you have to be at a baseline before you break out. That's me, though. But if I had to pick one rookie to just flash out of the pan, I think I'm going to pick, believe it or not, and I'm going to go away from the cop-out answer of Kenneth Graham. I'm going to go Jordan Phillips, the defensive lineman from Maryland. I just don't want to do the cop-out first-round pick answer. Phillips has a real chance to be your starting nose tackle. Like, Benito Jones was solid in that role last year in rotation with Deshaun Hand, and he's the only one there this year. But if Benito regresses, like Phillips, who is one of the youngest players in the NFL, one of the youngest draft picks this past year, like he had a really high run stop rate, ranked in the top 40 of defensive linemen, ranked in the top 20 in pass rush win rate at Maryland, a grinder, a hard worker, a strong defensive lineman. Like, I think Jordan Phillips could be a really good pick for the Fins in the 5th round. So if I had to give one that's not a high pick, I'm going Jordan Phillips from Maryland. All right, make sure you follow me over on X/Twitter for daily Dolphins content. Tweet about Miami Dolphins news. We got Dolphins highlights as well. On the road to 2,000 followers. We're 60 away from 1,800. Help me out. Hit that follow button. If anything ever happens on the Dolphins, I'll tweet about it before we make a video on YouTube. So get your Dolphins news there. And I'll say this. If you missed our mailbag on our live show, you can always hit me up with questions over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. Oh, my guy Rooski's in the building. What's up, Fumble Rooski? Despite the trade and trade talks, if they get rid of Jalen Ramsey, is it a retool for next year? No, it's not. No, it is not. The Dolphins, and here's the reason why I say no. If they traded Ramsey and Hill post-June 1st, yes, it is. But I don't think they are going to trade Tyreek Hill. So they're only, if they do trade Ramsey, that's the only one. And yes, the secondary would be horrid, as we're currently speaking. It's not a retool because I truly believe they are going to try to make the playoffs this year. And when you talk about a retool, I just think you're moving on from more than you did. Losing Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, Calais Campbell, and Jalen Ramsey is not enough for me to constitute a retool. Like, yeah, you lost some pieces, but you have roster turnover every single year. You added to your offensive line. You're bringing back the same running backs, basically. You're bringing back the same wide receivers. You're bringing back the same tight end. You're bringing Tua back, the head coach, the GM. Like, your offense is more or less the same. And all you did is get younger and more big on the defensive line. And yes, the safety and cornerback room has questions, but if those are the only two position groups that really saw a massive change, it's not a retool in my opinion. You should also have an improved pass rush with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips hopefully being healthy all year alongside Shop Robinson. So there's an argument to be had that this team is on paper just as good as the one last year outside of secondary, if not a little bit better, but we'll see. It's not a retool, though. YRS says, how do you feel about Jordan Phillips' role? Well, I didn't know this question was coming down the pipeline when I answered about Jordan Phillips just a couple minutes ago. But I kind of just laid out how I roll for Phillips, I think. I think he'll start out as a rotational nose tackle with Benito Jones with a chance to really take over that starting role. Like, the versatility on this defensive line is intriguing. Like, Sealer is not a one tech. He's not a nose tackle. He's a 3 tech. He can also play on the outside a little bit. But when you look at the 3D linemen that they added via the draft, Jordan Phillips, Kenneth Grant, Zeke Biggers, I think they could play different roles. They could all play 1 tech. They could play 3 tech. Like, Grant is such an athletic freak it's so fascinating to see how they will use all of these defensive linemen in rotation. But I believe Phillips can take over for Benito Jones year one. Like, I'm just so intrigued by his physicality, his hard work ethic, his mentality. He's just a good tone setter on that defensive line. I'm really, really excited to see him. And as you saw earlier on the show, I labeled him as the non-cop-out answer to be a breakout as a rookie. All right, this is going to go back to those trade rumors that we discussed here, but name a player you want the Dolphins to trade for. Could it be a wide receiver? Could it be a D lineman? Could it be a corner, a safety? If I had to pick one, I would probably choose between Jalen Watson from Kansas City or Greg Newsome from Cleveland, 2 corners in the last year of their deal. That would be upgrades for Miami. That would be probably my answers. Let me know your thoughts. Miami Dolphins fan, do you think Andrew Armstrong will get over 3 touchdowns? No, I do not. I like the aggressiveness from you, Miami Dolphins fan, and I'm a truther for Andrew Armstrong, the UDFA wide receiver from Arkansas, 6'4", 205, ran a 4.5, 140, led the SEC in receiving with 78 catches, 1,100-plus yards last season, but he only had 1 touchdown last year. Now you can attribute that to the offense that the Arkansas Razorbacks run, where they run the ball quite a bit inside the 5-10-yard line. But I don't think he will. Maybe I'm wrong. But he's got to make the team first. So maybe we're getting aggressive there. But he did have a good contested catch rate last season at Arkansas, 62%. So I'm going to lean no because they use their running backs, tight ends a lot in the red zone. That is Miami in terms of the passing game. And obviously you got to pencil in Waddle and Tyreek for at least 15 combined touchdowns. So I lean no for Andrew Armstrong. Sherry May, my queen. Talk to me about Bradley Chubb. I'm hearing some trade rumors. I don't like that one bit. Well, I'll tell you right now. Don't worry. There would have been worry earlier in the offseason. And Sherry May, you probably watched some of our content on the channel because earlier in the offseason, I said that I truly believe Bradley Chubb will be cut or a post-June first trade candidate. But they restructured his contract. They lowered his base down to essentially nothing. And shout out to the veteran Bradley, but he took a massive pay cut to stay in Miami. Because I think what was basically laid out to him was like, Bradley, we really want you to be here. We've stuck with you as you rehabbed all last season. But the truth is, we need money to sign some free agents in March. And if you don't take a pay cut, we're just going to have to release you. And he was like, okay, I understand. I'll help you out. And he took a pay cut. So there would be no point to trading him at this point because he already took a pay cut. Could it happen next offseason or could he get cut next offseason? Definitely a possibility. Probably put it up in a high chance if he does not have a good year. But there is no world, in my opinion, where Bradley Chubb ultimately gets traded this offseason, especially since he already took that contract restructure earlier in March. Tyson Bryant, my guy, with a question. How big of a chance do you see Kenneth Grant possibly winning Defensive Rookie of the Year? You know, I don't think it's crazy. I want to look at the fly here. Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. Like, I don't know who leads it. Actually, I do know who leads it. It's definitely Abdul Carter. But I don't know where Kenneth Grant is. And in an absolute robbery, ready for this? On the fly, this is crazy. I'm looking at the top odds according to whatever website this is, Sports Betting Dime. Abdul Carter 1, Mason Graham 2, Jalen Walker 3, Shamar Stewart 4, Travis Hunter 5, Will Johnson 6, Michael Williams 7, Jahdae Barron 8, Jihad Campbell 9, Mike Green 10. So they don't even have Kenneth Grant in the top 10 odds. I think that's blasphemous. I would have him above Jahdae Barron. I would have him above Mike Green. Hell, I would even have him above Will Johnson. As much as I like Will Johnson, everybody knows I'll have him above Travis Hunter because I don't think Travis Hunter will play that much on the defensive end. So, I don't know. Plus 1,000, 10-1 odds. That's not bad. It's just tough for nose tackles to get love, which is why I'm shocked that Mason Graham's number 2 on the list, by the way, because I tweeted this out over the weekend. I think Kenneth Grant might be better than Mason Graham. He's got more explosiveness. He's got better size to him. He's got longer arms, a little T-Rex Mason Graham. I'll also throw this out there. When you watch the tape at Michigan, I saw Kenneth Grant get double-teamed way more than I saw Mason Graham get double-teamed. That's all I'll say. Do I think he'll win it? No, because I think Abdul Carter's a shoo-in. That's me personally. But 10-1 odds, plus 1,000, why not? All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more YouTube content around the Miami Dolphins. It's 100% free. We put out sometimes 2 videos a day, but we definitely have videos every day, weekly live shows, live for every Dolphins game in the preseason, in the regular season. Join us today. We're a family. Isaac with a question. Could you see Ollie Gordon compete with Jaylen Wright for the RB2 spot? I'm going to lean no on that. And sorry, but I don't think so. I don't see that coming to fruition. And I just believe in Jaylen Wright, and I do think it takes a little bit of time to get a full understanding of the running back necessities, the asks, the requirements in a Mike McDaniel scheme. And when you drafted Jaylen Wright in the 4th round in 2024, you traded a future 3rd-round pick to get him. Like, you lost value on that trade because you valued Wright so high in the moment on day 3 of the 2024 draft. So you obviously envision a high role for him. And I will say this. I think Ollie Gordon could compete to take over for the short yardage RB3 role that the Dolphins signed Alexander Mattison to in free agency. But I do not think he can give you what Wright gives you in terms of pass blocking, in terms of running routes, in terms of his explosiveness. I mean, Ollie Gordon ran a 4.6. He's a bruiser. He's not a speed guy. I think Wright has a decent amount of blend between speed and physicality, where I think he complements Achane well. I think Ollie Gordon could be the RB3 short yardage guy, but I'm not going to say he's going to be the RB2 just yet. Maybe if he balls out, I'll change my opinion. Kiami, how many more free agents do you see us signing / targeting in the next few weeks? Well, I don't know if I can put a timeline on it, my guy, but I do think that the Dolphins will be signing at least 2 players going forward. And I mean 2 players. I'm not talking about these low-level waiver pickups like Matthew Butler, the defensive lineman. I'm talking real free agents. I think at least 2, because I think Miami will I know Miami will sign a corner, like a legit corner, whether it's Asante Samuel Jr., maybe he signed already, hopefully not. Sorry, we're recording this on Tuesday. Rasul Douglas, Stephon Gilmore, some of these other names like James Bradbury as well. I see them signing 1, maybe even 2 of those guys. Maybe another offensive lineman. So I lean 2. That's probably what I'll answer there. All right, the Dolphins schedule was released this week. Predict the record for Miami in 2025. It's tough. They can go anywhere between 7-10 and 10-7. I hate to be a little bit of a negative Nick here on today's show, but I think it's kind of a barely fight for your life above 500 wild card team. We'll see, though. That's my prediction. Let me know yours. Every Noodle with a question. Do you see the safety room filling out? I've seen Ashton Davis and Ifeatu Melifonwu, but it could be shaping up with Melifonwu, Campbell, McMorris. Elijah Campbell, that is. This is how I see the safety room going out. I think you're going to have your 2 starting guys be Melifonwu and Davis. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Both were signed to 1-year deals. Both have had injury concerns in their past, but display potential to be really good. Dante Trader Jr. will be on the depth chart. You drafted him in the 5th round. You do not cut a 5th-round pick before the season begins. So Dante Trader Jr. will be on the roster. And there's buzz about how they believe he could be a contributor right away, whether it's a 3rd safety or special teams guy. Does have a lot of special teams experience. The question is, do they keep 4 or 5 safeties? Because I think Melifonwu and Davis and Trader Jr. are locks. So if they keep 4, who gets it between McMorris and Campbell? Campbell has a lot more special teams value, but if you also use Dante Trader Jr. in that role, do you need a special teams guy or do you need a true safety? You drafted McMorris in the 6th round of the 2024 draft out of Cal. I think if I gave my prediction right now, I'll go 4 safeties, and I think McMorris gets cut, the 6th rounder from last year. Because Campbell just has good versatility, been on the team for a while. I think he would make it. Now, do I want to see the Dolphins keep 5 safeties? I probably would, honestly. I think I want to keep 5. Give me another year of McMorris. Give me one more chance and have the 5 of them. Because remember, like I mentioned, Melifonwu, Campbell, Davis, all 1-year deals. So you might need to keep around these rooks and second-year guys to fill out the roster next season. So that's how I feel it shapes out. Brian Aycock with a $25 super chat. My guy, Brian Aycock. Miami wins 10 games and upsets a team to win a playoff game. OG Aycock prediction. Brian, there is nothing I want more for you to be right. Nothing. My question is, who on the road are they going to beat? Because if they are a 10-win team, that means they are a wild card team. They're not winning the division at 10 wins. And you said they go on the road to win an upset. Who are they upsetting? Are they going to Baltimore in January? Are they going to Buffalo? Are they going to Kansas City? No, they would probably have to be the 5 seed and go to the 4 seed, which is likely going to be the Texans, Jags, one of those 2 teams, which is obviously either a Dome or a Southern team. So if the Dolphins are to win a playoff game this year, they need to either win the division and get home field, or they need to be the number 1 wild card team, so they play a Dome or warm team on the road in game 1. Like, that's my thoughts on it. I hope you're right, OJ Aycock. I hope you're right. I'm just a little bit of a pessimist, I suppose. All right, I'll do it for today's show. If you didn't get a question featured on today's mailbag, you could always hit me up on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. Go give me a follow, because I also got Dolphins content over there outside of our YouTube shows. So go give us a follow today. All right. That's it, folks. And Aycock's 25, the legend himself, gets us a beer bonski. So I'm gonna fill this puppy up. Yeah, if you want to go grab that real quick. I'll message you just something real quick. You got it? All right, good. You know what flavor I like? None of that wild cherry bullshit. None of that wild cherry shit. So, appreciate everybody. We got to $50 in super chats today, so we're going to take down a beer bong. Appreciate Brian Aycock and all y'all have donated. Aycock donated. We got my guy, Jonathan Soto, MDW, Mad Dragon Wizard, just absolute legends. You guys are the best. Fun live show as always. Man, it's fun hanging out every Tuesday with you guys. It is. And I don't care what the other people say about Dolphins Today, man. They think we stink. No, just kidding. All right, appreciate you, Reed. We're going to lemon lime, he says. Actually, that's a good one. If I power ranked Happy Dad beer bongs, I'm going lemon lime 1. I truly mean lemon lime 1. I'll go raspberry, a.k.a. Happy Mom 2. I'll go fruit punch 3. It's a little bit of a hot take for me. Like fruit punch at 3. I'll go probably pineapple 4. I'll go wild cherry 5. I think I'll slot in watermelon at 6. Yeah, I'm not a watermelon. I love watermelon drinks, but I don't think it's a good Happy Dad flavor. And then the worst, without a question, for me is the grape. I despise the grape with a burning passion. It's the most artificial tasting thing to me, in my opinion. Whoa! My God, Frank O'Connor! You know what? We're doing another beer bong, so we're really having a party. First beer bong down the hatch right now. Oh. Wow, appreciate y'all. And then Frank O'Connor dropping the hammer. So, Reed, I should have came more prepared. He's going to have to go get me another beer bong. Appreciate you, Reed. Appreciate you, Frank. Frank with a fitty bomb. Any surprises so far? Frank O'Connor, my guy. Frank, what do you mean surprise? Can I ask you what you mean by surprise? Any surprise so far? I'm a little puzzled. A little puzzled by what you mean by that, my friend. Excuse me. I mean, Frank, I'm going to give you that beer bong here in a second, but I'm just generally curious on what you mean by um, whatever I just said. The surprises. Yeah, I'm a dummy. I don't know. Sometimes my brain turns to mush. Sometimes my brain turns to absolute mush. Oh, there it is. I've been very busy lately, so I haven't kept up. Any trades or rookies looking better than we thought or worse than we thought? Oh, Frank, perfect. I'll answer this question and then take down the beer bong to close today's show. Frank, you're a legend. So the only, I would say, surprise, and I hate to bring up long snapper talk again, but a complete overhaul to the room. A week and a half ago, Frank, our long snappers were UDFA Kneeland Hibbett and Blake Ferguson. Now, there's only one long snapper, and it's the longtime New England Patriot, Joe Cardona. Attended Navy, 5th-round pick in 2015. Very good long snapper. Got waived by the Patriots. They drafted one in like the 6th round this year. Yeah, so went from Blake Ferguson and UDFA. Those two have both been released, and Cardona's our only long snappers. I considered that a surprise. Other surprises, no. Theo Weiss Jr., the UDFA from Missouri, was, I think, the number one winner from Dolphins rookie minicamp this past weekend. But other than that, no. No Jalen Ramsey updates, really. No Tyreek Hill updates. No trade rumors about Dolphins going out to get someone. There was one rumor about the Dolphins. This is, I guess, a little bit of a surprise, Frank. Miami hosted Rasul Douglas. They met in the Dolphins organization, the headquarters. They brought him in for a visit. They offered him a contract, according to Barry Jackson. Obviously, he did not sign. So there's a difference in financials or incentives, whatever you want to call it. So the Dolphins are interested in signing Rasul Douglas. We've known that and have offered him a contract, but he has not accepted. Maybe that changes. He has visited the Seahawks on Tuesday. All right. Ooh.
Guess the flavor.
Did you go? I think you. What is this? Pineapple?
Nope. I'll give you one more guess.
I'm gonna go lemon lime again.
Yep.
Yeah. I usually could tell.
Well, to be fair, the pineapple and lemon lime kind of smell similar.
Yeah, you got that fruity taste. You know, sometimes you can get that smell. Now, as I continue to smell like a weirdo. All right, we're gonna do this beer blowing for Frank O'Connor, and then we're gonna head out of here after a pretty fun Tuesday stream. Shout out to you, Frank. Did you ever slow clap to end a practice? Yeah, did you do that back in the day, Reed? Yeah. I don't know if that's something that everybody does.
That was a classic. Like the coach, you'd be like running sprints or something.
Yeah.
And then everyone was done, and he would go.
Yeah,
I don't. You're like, oh, we're done, and then everyone would slowly so he would do it slowly,
yeah.
And then everyone's kind of like out everywhere. This is football, and everyone would slowly come in as they clap. And then when you get like to the faster ones, everyone will put their hands up and you break it down.
Yeah, I see. I know that's a big thing in football. My basketball team did that a lot. So our practice when we get into the season was basically the same practice every day. We'd start off the day with shooting drills, then some defensive drills for the first 30 minutes of the practice, 35 minutes, because we had 2-hour practices every day. And then we would get into running through some of our sets for 20 to 30 minutes, probably do a scrimmage for the next 25, 30, and then we'd probably run sprints for the other 20 to 30 to end the street. And then once we were done with the sprints at the end of each practice of basketball, we did the claps. All right, I'll do it for today's show. We just clapped it up. Appreciate everybody for joining us. We'll be live again next Tuesday, but be on the lookout for tomorrow because we will have a video in the afternoon breaking down the Miami Dolphins 2025 schedule.